Hey guys, welcome to Super61 and welcome to a brand new video. Now today we are playing Project Cars 2 and it's been quite a while since I played this game, so you have to forgive me there for that awful start off the line. Of course, recently I've been playing Assetto Corsa Competizione with the rolling starts and F1 2020 with the clutch drop start, so the way you start off on a standing start on this game isn't something I have done for quite some time. Now this is a game I really did enjoy back in the day when it first came out. And I was just getting back into using a wheel again when I was using my G27, this was a game I did put a lot of time into. Now there is a lot of debate out there whether this is more of an arcade game, more of a simulator game. I think it kind of sits in the middle somewhere. Of course, what is great about this game is you've got a huge choice of tracks, car styles. I think the handling is pretty good. On certain vehicles, some it seems way off. Some of the kind of tyre models and the way the tyres work seem a little bit questionable, but overall I do enjoy this game. The types of racing I do on it, which is mainly touring car racing. I did do a lot of GT3 on this before I of course got into Assetto Corsa, and I did do some open wheel stuff, some of the IndyCar stuff, and even some of the NASCAR back in the day, so there are certain kind of racing styles in this game that I really enjoy. Now today we are racing around Donington Park, which is one of my favourite British GT and BTCC tracks. Coming from Nottingham originally, this is a track I've been to many times. I've watched the BTCC round here a few times. I've seen the F4 around here. I've seen the Formula Ford around this track. And it is a great local track. Now this is a track I am very much looking forward to coming out in the Assetto Corsa Competizione pack that has now actually been today confirmed to be coming out at winter time of this year. So they're bringing out a British GT pack which is going to have Alton Park, Snetterton and Donington to of course join onto the existing Silverstone and Brands Hatch that's already in that game. Now as you can see, we are in the touring car class. Now in Project Cars 2 there isn't many options when it comes to touring cars. There's a BMW, the Mercedes AMG and the Renault. I'm obviously in the Mercedes AMG at the moment. It's a little bit of a shame because there is car models in the game such as the Focus RS, the Audi, which are touring cars. There just isn't a touring car equivalent in this game. Now of course, for the last few years the official licence for the British Touring Car Championship has been something that's been used by Codemasters in their grid that used to be the Toka Touring Car games. Now, having a friend that works for the British Touring Car Championship, I know the man who owns the Touring Car Championship, who's in charge of it all and controls the licensing for it, is very particular and keen to have things put in the right place. You may or may not be aware that you can actually get scalemetrics of all of the 2018 and 2019 touring cars, and that's because something he was very particular about. And with the Codemasters Touring Car games, or the Toka Touring Car series, he always wanted to have all the cars and all the tracks available to have a full BTCC series. Now of course, in a game like that where you in the later versions had not just touring but other styles of driving as well, or other styles of racing, it wasn't something they could afford to do, to put all those models and all those tracks into the game. But more recently, probably to do with the fact that sim racing really has taken off and the market for sim racing and racing in general has started to rise, there now has been confirmed that there's going to be an official British Touring Car Championship game. So much like the original Toka games, this is going to be a fully branded BTCC game that is going to be tied into esports. Now the only issue I see with this is of course the British Touring Car Championship is a relatively small league. You're only going to have 5 or 6 tracks: Silverstone, Brands Hatch, Snetterton, Alton Park, Donington, to say the least. So there's not going to be a huge amount of tracks, and of course there is only about 10 teams and 10 different cars in the championship, so the choice of vehicles may also be very limited. So it'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with this game, whether they're actually going to include some of the supporting racing championships. When you go to the British Touring Car Championship, the support race include the Ginetta Cup Championship, the Porsche Cup Championship, and the Formula Ford or F4 depending on the season championship. So maybe they might include that into the game as well as some of the supporting events that you can also take part in to try and expand the game and give it a bit more longevity. But either way, as a huge British Touring Car fan, it'll be a game I will definitely be covering on the channel when it is initially released. Now, whilst we're playing Project Cars 2, we cannot not of course discuss the fact that Project Cars 3 is a huge disappointment. Now, when Project Cars 3 was first announced, it was something myself and my friend were very interested in. One of the reasons we play this game a lot is, unlike Assetto Corsa, what you can do on this game, which I really enjoy, is set up servers with a friend, so if there's only 2 of you playing, it can be you and him, and the rest of the grid can be AI. Now on Assetto Corsa online, you're either against, an open lobby of complete strangers, or a private lobby with just you and your friend. You can't actually have the rest of the grid filled with AI drivers, which, if you're only wanting to play some casual racing with a friend, is a shame. So, of course, when they announced Project Cars 3, we were very excited, but as it came closer and closer to launch and more information became available, it really did seem like this game wasn't going to be what we were expecting. Of course, now the game's been out a few weeks, there's been reviews, there's been gameplay. They made a really weird choice with that game. Rather than turning it into a different title to make more of an arcade kind of Need for Speed style game, they just ruined this IP. Now, this IP had a pretty strong following. As I said, there are some people who disagree that Project Cars is a simulator style game. I think it's a great game that kind of introduces you to sim racing, as it did for me. I went from this into the more serious realms of Assetto Corsa, but to completely change the dynamic of the game and turn it into essentially a completely different game was a really bad choice. If they wanted to make an arcade style game, they should have just given it a different IP. To call this Project Cars 3 and be essentially a Need for Speed style, arcade game was a really daft thing to do, because now if they want to make a simulator style game in the future, they'll either need to make a whole new IP, because people will no longer trust the Project Cars title. When Project Cars 4 is announced, everyone who's already seen what Project Cars 3 has become is just going to assume Project Cars 4 is the same thing. They cannot, between different titles in a series, just switch up the style of game. That'd be like Call of Duty one week being a first-person shooter and the next week being a third-person RPG game. It really doesn't make sense. Now, playing this game today was the first time I've played this game since I got my new Fanatec setup, and of course my new Fanatec wheel and magnetic shifters, which I did a review of last week, which if you haven't seen, I will leave linked or on the channel down in the description below. So, for any of you guys who are wondering, since I got the new wheel and got those upgraded shifters, I have had no problems at all. I've put probably about another 30 hours in using this wheel since then, which on my original setup, the issue I was having would happen every few hours, so it really does seem that since then this problem has been solved. So whatever the issue was, it seems like it was coming from the wheel. I was worried that they'd get back to me and say the wheel's fine, and then I'd have to send off the base and it would be a problem with the base, and it'd just keep going from there. But it seems like the wheel was the issue, and upgrading those magnetic shifters has had no real downside or not caused any other issues at all. So far, overall, I really am enjoying and rating this Fanatec setup. Yes, I had a few issues to begin with, and I must admit, customer service was very, very slow, but they did get there in the end with me, and I did get the product I was asking for and get it all sorted. So overall, I still really recommend, if you are looking at a Fanatec setup, it is something worth investing in. Now, over the last few weeks, I have been conjuring up ideas for future video content. I'm considering doing some live streams, but the only issue is my computer and internet really can't keep up with trying to play a game and live stream it, especially with multiple cameras on my face, on the steering wheel, all this kind of stuff. So I might make some live videos with live commentary, maybe a camera on my face, but upload them after the fact. So they are live as I'm recording them and they're just not being live streamed. So I might do some kind of endurance races, maybe a 6-hour race on Spa, something like that. I'm still trying to work it out, but it is something that if you are interested in seeing, tell me down in the comments below. If you're interested in seeing more stuff like this, I have been recording some NASCAR gameplay, some Indy 500 gameplay, tell me down in the comments below. So that's about it for today's video, guys. I will leave you with the rest of this race as I struggle to make my way through the pack. I had this difficulty set at around 90% difficulty with a very high aggression level, which is quite funny in this game. When you crank up the aggression, they just seem to swerve around all over the place and try and cut you and each other up as much as possible, which does make it a little bit more challenging. But having the difficulty set at this level is actually quite good when you want to start mid-pack, as I did in this race. I started around 18th and I'm slowly working my way up. By this point here, I am in 9th or 10th position, so I do enjoy these races where it's a challenge to kind of slowly make your way through the pack. So I will leave you with the rest of this race, but as I said, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave me a like and a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.